I like running better.
Everyone loves Sonic Adventure 2, right? It's by far one of, if not the most popular Sonic game ever made, and it's still commonly brought up in both internet discourse and the actual series, even today, despite being over 20 years old. A big part of why people like this game so much is its wide variety of good and bad stages. Now, obviously, everyone has different opinions. Some people might like a certain stage, while others might hate that stage, and that's completely fine. But today, I want to bring my 2 cents into the mix and rank every single playable stage in Sonic Adventure 2, including the super secret special stage you get for collecting every emblem in the game. If you disagree with me, feel free to leave a really mean comment down below telling me why I'm stupid and wrong. I'm going to split the rankings into categories. One category for each major gameplay style, and the unique stages will get their own categories. I'm going to play without any gameplay improvement mods so I can get the most authentic experience possible for the most recent versions of the game. I absolutely do not recommend doing that yourself if you have the PC version of the game. Instead of ranking all the stages against each other, the stages are going to be ranked using a tier list that goes from S tier to F tier. S tier being the greatest thing to ever grace mankind, and F tier being mad space. Now with all the rules out of the way, let's get to the first style. Action stages are probably the most well-liked stages in the game. They're the generic go fast Sonic Hedgehog levels, and they're played by Sonic and Shadow. The action stages are by far the most straightforward stages in the game, and in my opinion, they're the most fun too. You just gotta go fast and reach the goal ring. That's about it. I'm gonna start off with Sonic stages first, and then do Shadows after. Starting with... I really don't know what I could realistically say about City Escape that hasn't already been said like 1,000 times by now. This is one of the most popular Sonic stages ever, rivaling the likes of Green Hill Zone itself, and rightfully so. This is literally the first stage of one of the most influential games ever made. Okay, enough glazing, let's actually talk about the stage now. Bias aside, I think this stage is really great, and it's one of the better stages in the game. The setting's really cool, despite just being some random city, and the gameplay for the stage is pretty solid too. The music is great too, but I think by now, literally everyone and their mom knows that. The only gripe that I have for the stage is the amount of grind rails it has, because the grinding controls in this game are atrocious, but that's more of a general game issue rather than like a stage specific issue. Also, I think the part of the end when you're running away from the gun truck is really cool in theory, but kind of feels a bit weird to play, and the jump ramps are completely useless because you literally can't see them unless you know they're there ahead of time. But like, it looks cool, so it's fine. Overall, I give City Escape an S tier, because why would I not? Another very popular stage from this game, but this one isn't as well liked as City Escape, which is understandable. It's not bad by any means, but I just think there are some better stages in the game. The style of the stage is pretty cool, but I feel like at times the stage kind of gets lazy in its level design. I feel like there's way too many loop-de-loops and those like red grapple hook thingies. That isn't too much of a problem though, because the stage is pretty fast paced, so you only have to deal with them for like 2 seconds at a time. The end of the stage is really cool though. That entire sequence with the rocket shooting up into the air and Sonic jumping off of it and skating down to the goal ring is so cool to me. I'm trying not to talk about any stage for longer than the stage itself actually is, and I fear that if I keep talking about Metal Harbor, that's gonna happen. So S tier Metal Harbor goes. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or not, but I actually really enjoy Green Forest. The scenery is really cool and the level design is pretty fun too. Honestly, I feel like this stage is really solid in almost every aspect. The only issues I have with the stage are the fact that the ring trails don't connect, so sometimes the lightspeed dash just chooses not to work, and the end of the stage where everything starts crumbling because it's just not very fun to play. Other than those two things, I think the stage is really fun, and I don't remember the stage actually being this fun back when I was a kid. Anyways, Green Forest gets a surprising A tier. Okay, I'm writing this part of the script before I do the stage, but I have a feeling I can already tell where the stage is gonna go. Look, I really wish I enjoyed Pyramid Cave because I think a pyramid stage is such a cool concept, but oh my goodness, the stage is not, it's not it. Aside from the cool aesthetic of the stage, I do not enjoy anything about it. The level design is fun for a grand total of 2% of the entire stage, and the rest of it just sucks. This stage is the most annoying detour ever to get a key that is mandatory for completing it. The ghosts also just suck. Like there's nothing good about these guys. It isn't super common to actually get hit by them, but there's like 300 billion of them, so you're bound to run into at least one and just not be able to move for like 5 seconds. Not only that, but this is the longest stage so far and one of the longest action stages in the whole game, so your suffering is extended. Pyramid Cave just sucks and I hate it. D tier. Okay, that might actually be a little too harsh. Maybe I'll put it in C tier. Crazy Gadget is the beginning of the end game stages, so these stages tend to be a lot longer than the earlier ones. A lot of people have an issue with this stage that I'll get to later, but I actually enjoyed the majority of this stage quite a bit. There are some cool parts of the level that I still think are pretty awesome, like when you go into that huge loop-de-loop tube or when you go to the ring trail that's in space. The enemy placement is a bit annoying, but other than getting hit a few times, they're relatively okay. The biggest gripe that I and literally everyone else have with this stage is at the end, where you have to shift gravity and run along a bunch of these floating Tetris block things. Really cool concept, but definitely not the most fun execution. But in the grand scheme of things, it isn't a super long part of the stage, so it's just an unpleasant ending. B tier for Crazy Gadget. Final Rush is the final, sort of, Sonic stage in the game, and they make that point very clear in this stage. This stage is gas, like I can't even lie. Not only is the music really good, but the level design is great too. The space setting with all the rails and the meteors and the arc is really cool, and being able to see the earth below you is a really neat addition to the stage. The replayability of the stage is insane too. This might be one of, if not the most creative stage in the game in terms of how you play it. There are branching paths and level skips literally everywhere. You can play the stage like 20 times in a row and get a different experience every time. This stage really lets the player go absolutely wild with how they want to play, whether it be using the grind rails or skipping those and using the springs or just falling to the earth's surface. There are so many good things about this stage that the only problems that I have with it could just be considered nitpicks. The grinding isn't always the most fun, which again is a game problem and not a stage specific problem, but for a majority of the stage, the rail grinding is probably the best it's ever been in the game so far. I would still highly recommend getting the hedge panel mod or something to improve the rail grinding in the game if you have the PC version. Honestly, this is one of the best stages in the game, and I'm giving it a well-deserved S tier. With that, almost all of the Sonic exclusive stages are done. I know there's technically one last Sonic stage in the game, but since that's a super secret special stage you get for 100% in the game, I want to leave it until the very end so it can be the last ranking of the video. Hey, stop, don't skip to the end, dude, what the hell? Sonic had a pretty good catalog, not you, of stages, and most of them were pretty solid. There were a few stinkers in there, but you can't always expect a City Escape or a Final Rush type of stage. Now that Sonic's out of the way, let's get to his dark story counterpart, Shadow, beginning with his first level this time, that being... Honestly, the only thing I could think of while playing this stage was hype moments and aura. Like, it's genuinely so difficult to actually review Radical Highway because I just keep thinking that everything on the screen is awesome and edgy and cool, but I'll try my best. This stage is great in so many ways. The level design's really fun, the music's great, and the setting's super cool too. The branching paths near the end of the stage add a good bit of replay value to it too, which is a nice little bonus. Since the stage takes place in a city, they have a lot of cool billboards and references all over the place, which is a cool little detail that they didn't have to add. One issue that I have with this stage though is the annoying missile placements that completely ruin your momentum for literally no reason sometimes. When you know what they are, it's pretty easy to dodge, but it just kind of feels like a needless obstacle. Also near the end of the stage where you have to chain homing attack some gun robots, sometimes it just doesn't work and you end up falling to a different part of the stage, which is a little annoying, but all it really does is change the route that you take to the goal ring, so it's more of like a minor inconvenience than a major issue. I don't remember liking this stage as much as I like City Escape or Final Rush, but after replaying it and really analyzing the level, I actually really enjoyed it. Plus it has a Nights into Dreams reference, so Radical Highway gets an S tier. White Jungle is Shadow's version of Sonic's Green Forest, and it's also a better version of it. While Green Forest was surprisingly better than I remembered, White Jungle is just as good as I remembered, if not better. This time I want to start with my favorite part of the stage, which is the music. I absolutely love rhythm and balance. So much in fact that I know the actual name of the song. The song's insanely good and makes the stage 10 times better than it already was somehow. Putting that aside, the stage is basically Green Forest but with less annoying parts. The ring trails actually connect and there's no falling part at the end of the stage. Instead, there are zip lines that shoot you across the stage, which not only look cool, but are a lot smoother gameplay wise. Even the loop-de-loops in this stage are cool. They literally make you run through the air. I know I sound like a Shadow shill saying this after Radical Highway, and I am, but that's not why I'm putting this stage so high on the list. White Jungle is definitely a personal favorite, and I think it genuinely deserves an S tier. You know, I went into Skyrail thinking it was going to be an A, maybe B tier stage, but after further consideration, I've changed my mind. Look, on the positive side, the stage has a really cool aesthetic. I also enjoy the music in the stage a lot too. And lastly, the animations when jumping off the end of a rail are a really cool little addition. Those are like the only good things I have to say about the stage. The level design relies heavily on rail grinding, hence the name, and these weird helicopter spin things that move up when you jump on them. The rails in this stage also suffer from the issues that plague this game and its it's really iffy feeling rail grinding. Another stage where I suggest getting a mod or something to fix the rail grinding. But mods won't fix every problem with this stage's rails though, cause not only does it suck to be on the rails, but sometimes the rails just want to kill you and end up being dead ends that plunge you into the Earth's core. But the major issue in this stage is the springs. The springs are usually not too bad if you homing attack them, but if you just land on them like you usually do on springs, you'll basically get no momentum and it's pretty annoying. The only saving grace for this level is that it's pretty short, so you don't have to deal with any of those problems for very long. Skyrail gets a C tier. Just like White Jungle and Green Forest, Final Chase is Shadow's version of Final Rush, but I don't think this stage is as good as Final Rush. I'm not sure how to really rank this stage. On one hand, I think it's cool, but on the other hand, I think it kind of stinks. This stage has the same really cool space setting that Final Rush had, but the level design itself is completely different. Instead of focusing on the grind rails, it has a bigger focus on these new gravity shifting cylinder things that let you run along the side of them while keeping you grounded to the center of them. The gimmick is cool for a little bit, but sometimes it gets really annoying to navigate around because it messes with the controls and stuff. The music in the stage is also there are parts of the song that I liked, and it started to grow on me after listening to it for a while, but I still think it's one of the weaker songs in this game's otherwise insanely good soundtrack. This stage does have a good amount of replayability, but a lot of the alternate paths need you to go through those gravity changing things, so it isn't the most fun to replay. There are definitely good parts of the stage, and I think that at times, the level design can be even better than Final Rush's. But for the most part, this stage is kind of middle of the road for me. So because of that, I'm gonna give Final Chase a B tier. And now, we're done with every shadow stage in the game too, meaning that we're completely done with every action stage for both the hero and dark stories. I generally preferred shadow stages over Sonic's, but they both had their ups and downs here and there. With the action stages all wrapped up, we can head to the next style. The next style is commonly considered to be less enjoyable than the action stages, and it's personally my least favorite style in the game. But next, we're going to be talking about
Sonic, shut your bitch ass up! Shut your bitch ass up!
Like I said before, the mech stages are significantly less liked compared to the action stages, and rightfully so in my opinion. They're a lot slower and more tedious to play through. Not only that, but you gotta hear this really annoying beeping sound every time you shoot in them, and you're gonna be shooting a lot. The mech stages are played by Tails and Eggman. Just like with the action stages, we're gonna start with the hero story stages again, being represented by Tails this time, whose first stage is... I think Prison Lane's actually a really good introduction to the gameplay of the mech stages. The level design literally guides you into learning how to play as the mech characters by forcing you to use your range to shoot certain robots in order to continue through the stage. It also does a pretty good job in not being too annoying to go through while letting you get comfortable with the very unique movement and gameplay of the mechs. Style-wise, the stage isn't super inspired, but like, you're inside of a military base, so you can't really expect anything crazy out of that, but I do think that it does that whole industrial style base thing really well. The music in the stage is pretty catchy too. I honestly just think that the stage does everything well overall. The only issue that I can think of is that sometimes the enemies spawn out of nowhere, and it's pretty annoying because you needlessly lose HP, but at least that also informs you that you have an actual health bar, unlike the other playstyles in the game, so it's still teaching you something. Prison Lane is definitely starting the next stages off strong with an A tier for me. Mission Street is kind of hard to form an opinion on because I feel like there isn't much to really say about it. It shares the same location as Radical Highway, but in a bit of a different setting. It still has all the cool posters, and it even has new wanted signs for Tails that appear around the level here and there, which is really funny to me because they're genuinely hunting down an 8-year-old. Like you can't be for real. Despite all the cool and funny stuff that this stage has, it also suffers from the same issue I had with Radical Highway. That being the random missiles that just pop out of nowhere and hurt you. But in this stage, since there's so much going on like all the time and Tails is a lot slower than Shadow, you get hit by them a lot easier. Another thing is that sometimes the stage will just force you to slow down for no reason, which is a little annoying. Tails is already pretty slow in the first place, and forcing me to sit for a few seconds for a random platform to fall isn't the most engaging gameplay. The stage isn't too bad overall, but since its issues are a lot more prominent than in other stages, and the fact that the stage is kind of long, I'll give Mission Street a B tier. For the most part, Hidden Base is a pretty alright stage. I don't have any major complaints about it, but I also don't have many praises for it either. The level design can get pretty fun at times, and sometimes it even has different paths to go through that add a small bit of replay value and exploration to the stage. The door shooting mechanic is also pretty alright for the most part, but around the middle of the stage, there's this dumb maze section with the doors that gets kind of really annoying. That section doesn't last super long though, so it isn't too bad. The quicksand mechanic is a bit annoying too. Like, I get it, Tails is in this big machine and it's hard to get at a quicksand while sitting in the big hunk of metal, but still, it isn't a very fun mechanic. Luckily though, the quicksand is only in parts of the stage and the platforming isn't too difficult most of the time. There really isn't much else to say about the stage. Hidden Base gets another B tier. Eternal Engine is Tails' final stage, and it's my personal favorite of his. A big thing that I really like about the stage is that it's actually difficult. Not only do the enemies require more skill to deal with, but there are explosives all over the stage, and simply shooting around all over the place will 100% end up with you falling into the vacuum of space. Eternal Engine really skill checks you, and that's what makes the stage so interesting to me. The music in the stage is great too, and the level design as a whole is pretty good, especially the part where you're flying through the air. I don't know why, but that part's so raw to me. The only problem I can think of with this stage is that sometimes the difficulty gets a little too overwhelming, and by sometimes I very specifically mean this part of the stage. Honestly, this stage is really good. It's definitely the most well thought out Tails stage in the game, and with some minor tweaks, it would definitely be an S tier. But as it stands, I unfortunately have to give Eternal Engine a really high, just under S tier level A tier. You know what? I changed my mind. It's going to S tier. Alright, Eternal Engine's going to S tier. Now, that's all of Tails' stage is done. Just like Sonic, Tails also has another stage, but since that stage is a driving stage and not a mech stage, I'll rank that one separately along with the other driving stage in the game. But we aren't done with the mech stages just yet, because now we have Eggman to go through. Yay, yay Eggman. Starting again with his first stage, which just so happens to be Iron Gate kind of feels like evil prison lane. Like, I really don't know how else to explain it. Iron Gate's a pretty straightforward stage, to be honest. It heavily focuses on the whole lock-on system, where you're able to lock onto multiple targets and shoot them all at the same time. For the most part, the stage is pretty enjoyable, and there were a few parts of the stage that I actually thought were pretty cool. The only annoying part of the stage is at the beginning and around the middle point, when you have to go down this really slow-moving platform for a few seconds. It really slows down the gameplay for like no reason, and it's kind of just a slog to play through. Other than that though, I don't really have any issues with this stage. I'll give Iron Gate a solid B tier. Sand Ocean just kind of feels like a worse, more confusing version of Hidden Base. Sand Ocean's another desert level just like Hidden Base was, meaning that it has the same quicksand problem, which is still just as annoying. The level design feels really uninspired at times, and at some points, the level just feels like you're constantly going through a long and tedious maze. Not only that, but despite me beating the game and playing this stage multiple times over through the course of my entire life, I still get a bit confused on where I am or where to go at times. The aesthetic of the stage is pretty cool, but that's the only compliment I can really give to Sand Ocean. It isn't the longest stage, which is also pretty nice, but I'm not really the biggest fan of the stage whatsoever. It's not the worst stage I've played so far, and there are definitely worse stages to come later on, but for now, I'm putting Sand Ocean into C tier. Lost Colony is actually pretty fun most of the time. The stage actually feels like you're infiltrating a space station, and the music really helps that fact. The music is probably my favorite part of the stage, to be honest. The level design is pretty fun too, aside from a few sections. The biggest problem with this stage is the one section near the end where the game locks you into this platform and makes you go up an elevator at an extremely slow pace. It's kind of similar to the platforms in Iron Gate, but if they were a lot more restrictive and took significantly more time to get through. Despite that, I think the rest of the stage is pretty solid. I'll give Lost Colony a nice little B tier, up there with Iron Gate. Weapons Bed is probably the most fun Eggman stage in the game. It's always really fun to lock onto all those inactive gun robots and just completely nuke them. This stage has multiple sections where you can just do that, and it really never gets old. Aside from that, the stage is pretty cool in both aesthetic and level design. A majority of the stage is pretty well made, and there aren't a lot of annoying parts where you have to sit there for 30 seconds doing literally nothing. I think it's really cool how you can kind of customize the length of the stage too. Like, depending on how many robots you destroy or paths you open, the stage can either be a very short one or a very long one. I guess you could say that for every stage in the game, but it feels the most prominent in this stage. A huge issue that I have with this stage though is that the stupid jets from Radical Highway at Mission Street are back with a vengeance for some reason. Literally every 5 seconds you are getting hit with a missile from one of these 15 fighter jets coming directly towards you. The enemy placement in this stage can also get a bit annoying at times, but the most that happens is you get hit a few times. I really like this stage, but those two problems kind of knock it down a notch. So because of those problems, Weapons Bed is gonna get a B tier. Okay, so you know how I just said that Weapons Bed was the most fun Eggman stage in the game? Yeah, so I was kind of wrong. I mean, I wasn't entirely wrong because I had a lot of fun with that stage, but Cosmic Wall is really fun in a different way. This stage is centered around another gravity changing mechanic, kind of like how Final Chase was. But instead of the mechanic being weird and confusing to play around, in this stage, the mechanic is just that you can basically fly now. The level design is entirely tailored to this low gravity mechanic, and it makes platforming genuinely so fun. There are also a few on-rail sections that are surprisingly really fun too, especially compared to on-rail sections in previous Eggman stages. The literal only thing that I can think of that is negative towards this stage is that it's unreasonably long. It took me just under 7 minutes to complete this stage, and while it was fun, near the end I was starting to get a little bored of it. I wouldn't say I prefer this stage over something like Eternal Engine, but overall, this stage is definitely my favorite Eggman stage, and I will gladly be putting Cosmic Wall in A tier. Now with both Eggman and Tails out of the way, every mech stage is completed too. These stages were less fun than the action ones in my opinion, but I was still able to have a good amount of fun with some of them. But now we can get to the third and final playstyle, a style that I honestly prefer compared to the mech stages. That style being
Knuckles, use your strength to jump off the plane.
treasure hunting stages are the third major playstyle in this game, and they're played by Knuckles and Rouge. These are probably the most polarizing stages in the game because people either love them or hate them. The only thing about these stages that everyone can agree on is the fact that they all have the best music in the game, and if you disagree with that, you are just wrong, pal. I don't know what to tell you. The objective of these stages are completely different from the other two because in order to complete these stages, you have to find 3 Chaos Emerald shards, or like keys or something, hidden away in random areas throughout the level. To help you do this though, you're given a nice little radar at the bottom of your screen that shows you how close you are to the shards. But unlike in Sonic Adventure 1, where all of the shards were visible on the radar at the same time, in this game, the radar only detects 1 shard at a time. This means that even if you pass an emerald piece, if it isn't the first piece on the radar at the time, it won't be detected by the radar. Which also means that these stages are a lot more annoying to play compared to the other stages depending on how lucky you get. I would also recommend getting the SA Mod Manager and putting on the All Emeralds Trackable code from the codes section. It makes playing these stages feel so much better. Again, I'm going to start with the Hero Story stages and then do the Dark Story stages after. This time, Knuckles is going to be representing the Hero Story, and his first stage is Wild Canyon's actually a pretty short stage. Most people would expect the treasure hunting stages to be super long and tedious, which can definitely be the case depending on the stage you're playing, but this stage is very different. This stage is a lot smaller than the other treasure hunting stages, so the emerald shards are a lot easier to find. This stage is so short in fact, that my first run through of it took just over 1 minute, so I had to record another one just for more gameplay footage. This stage is genuinely pretty fun though. There isn't much to say about it other than good level design, it looks nice, and the music is great as usual with the treasure hunting stages. It's short and sweet, and I like that. Wild Canyon gets an A tier. This is the Knuckles stage in this game. A lot of people think of Pumpkin Hill when they think about Knuckles in Sonic Adventure 2, and I think it's very warranted. Every Knuckles stage has a pretty great vibe in this game, but the vibe of Pumpkin Hill is on a completely different level than the rest. Everything from the music to the visuals to the stage hazards and even the enemies in this stage create a vibe that isn't easily forgotten once you've seen it for the first time. The level itself is pretty fun to play through too. The level design is fun and really open for player exploration while not being super duper annoying to traverse through. It's significantly bigger than Wild Canyon in both size and scale, but the rockets that help you travel around the stage and the glide ability that Knuckles has stops the stage from becoming too much of a slog to play through. This level is genuinely awesome in every way possible, and it's definitely well deserving of its insane popularity within the Sonic fanbase. Pumpkin Hill is getting a very clear S tier. Aquatic Mine is the first level that really starts to show the issues that people have with the treasure hunting stages in this game. It has a really cool aesthetic, kind of like Pumpkin Hill does, but this is the first stage where stuff just gets confusing. There are so many different sections and hidden parts of the stage that make it kind of annoying to traverse through, despite literally being able to glide and climb walls. Even the gimmick of changing the water level to get to new areas is kind of annoying to deal with. Despite all of that though, the stage still wasn't super annoying to actually play through. The gimmicks and level design were a bit of a chore to work around sometimes, but as a whole, the stage still felt fun to play for whatever reason. It could be the music or that sense of exploration, but either way, I was still able to enjoy myself a little bit. Aquatic Mine could be a lot worse, but it's definitely a dangerous sign of things to come for the treasure hunting stages. I'm giving Aquatic Mine a B tier. Oh, okay, so this is what the signs were leading to. Death Chamber is cool and has good music, just like every other Knuckles stage, but it has one major problem that completely ruins the experience. This stage is so confusing. Playing through Death Chamber feels like you're constantly going through a maze until you randomly get a gate key, and it sucks. I felt like this stage was actively destroying my brain. I had to go outside and drink some water after playing it because of the headaches that it gave me. Like, I'm not even joking. There aren't even any other crazy problems with this stage. The exploration is fine in the side areas, and the hourglass gimmick isn't even that bad. The layout of the map is literally the only problem because it just feels like you're going in circles over and over again, which like you are, but still. Honestly, just thinking about the stage is giving me a headache again. I'm gonna put Death Chamber into C tier because at least it isn't Pyramid Cave. I went into Meteor Herd thinking it was going to be annoying too, because it's definitely the largest Knuckles stage in this game, but this stage is actually really fun. Maybe I just got lucky with the emerald locations, but this stage wasn't super annoying to go through. The rocket that brings you up to the top of the stage basically allows you to go anywhere you want, because you can just fall down and glide until you detect a shard. Plus, despite being so large in scale, the stage is pretty open and easy to move around, regardless of if you're on the ground or in the air. My only problems with this stage are the enemies and, funnily enough, the herd of meteors that fall from the sky. The enemies are just not fun to deal with as Knuckles, levels because you typically have to fly into them and you can't just homing attack them or shoot them. And sometimes you'll just bounce off of them and probably get hit, which kind of sucks. The meteors are the real annoyance though. For the most part, they aren't too bad, but when you have to do more precise platforming or wall climbing, they will not hesitate to absolutely nuke you. Overall, Meteor Herd was actually really fun, and I'll give it an A tier. And now that Meteor Herd is done, all of the Knuckle stages are finished. I was honestly expecting to hate these stages more, but I had quite a bit of fun with them for the most part. But we still have the Dark Star to do, which is taken up by Rouge this time. I am very scared for what's to come, but starting with a stage that actually isn't scary, we got Dry Lagoon is just like the Rouge equivalent of Wild Canyon. It's short and sweet, but it has a different coat of paint and a few new areas. You do get to meet this really cute turtle though, so that's cool. The level is really pretty to look at, and the music really adds to the vibe that it has. The overgrown grass, the trees, the flowers, and the butterflies roaming around all look really good, despite this game being older than most people watching this video right now. The stage is still pretty small, but there are some little secret areas that you have to go out of your way to get to. Since the level is so short and similar to Wild Canyon, I don't really have much else to say about it, but I do like it. Dry Lagoon gets an A tier because it's pretty. Seeing as Egg Quarters is the Rouge version of Death Chamber, I had very low hopes when I started this stage. Needless to say, I was wrong actually, it's not that bad. I think the big difference between the two that makes Egg Quarters better in my opinion is that it's a lot smaller than Death Chamber was. While Death Chamber was this huge maze-like labyrinth that hates the player, Egg Quarters was just a few rooms. It's a lot easier to find the keys and navigate through this stage. Not only that, but the music in this stage is really nice too. While the big problem of the headache-inducing stage layout is gone, another issue arises with this stage. This stupid beetle guy, like he's so annoying. Whenever it sees you, there's a 100% chance that you'll be blasted by 30 lasers and lose all of your rings. You could just avoid it by being sneaky, but it's kind of difficult to do when you're moving so fast and you have literally no indication of where it is. It works well thematically because Rouge is a thief and all, but it's just not really fun gameplay wise. Other than the annoying ass beetle, I don't really have any issues with this stage. I'm giving Egg Quarters a B tier. I really like this stage. It's kind of weird because I do have issues with it, but for some reason, I've always really enjoyed this stage ever since I was a kid. I feel like Security Hall is just a perfect Rouge stage. The music and the setting really set the stage for an infiltration mission inside of a government base. Not to mention the occasional Eggman voice lines telling you to hurry up, which definitely awakens something in someone. This stage definitely fits the vibe it's going for perfectly. There's also a cool gimmick with the air vents that let you fly around the stage instead of falling into the abyss. It's not super useful, but it's there, I guess. The only thing that I find annoying about this stage is the 10 billion lasers at the top of it. They aren't super annoying to deal with all the time because you can usually just platform around them, but sometimes they just hit you for no reason. Also on the right side, the air vents push you up, so you can't really platform properly over there until you find a way to turn them off or you just get lucky. I really wish I could give this stage an S tier because I'm heavily biased towards it, but I think Security Hall actually deserves an A tier. Oh boy. Mad Space looks really cool and has amazing music, but like that's it. Everything else in this stage sucks, like I can't even lie. It's a space stage like Meteor Herd, so it has the same issue with the meteors coming in and blowing you up, but it doesn't have any of the redeeming factors of that stage, like the open level design. This stage has a gravity mechanic similar to Shadow's Final Chase, but like 10 times worse and 10 times more prominent. The stage is also huge and really separated, so it takes forever to find a shard. There's literally nothing good about this stage in terms of gameplay. It kind of feels like they mixed and matched a bunch of different stuff from a bunch of different stages in the worst way possible. The music's really good, so I kind of want to bump it up to D tier, but I cannot rightfully put Mad Space anywhere other than F tier where it truly belongs. With Mad Space finished and ranked, we're officially done with not only all the treasure hunting stages, but all of the normal stages in the game. There are still a few more stages to go through, but they're all unique in some way. Like the driving stages, for example, which, wow, would you look at that? The next two stages are the driving ones. Now, since these stages are completely different from any other stage in the game, I have to review them in a different way. Kind of like I'm reviewing a racing game. Now, this isn't any Ridge Racer or Gran Turismo level gameplay, but I don't think these stages are that bad. The vehicle controls aren't too bad, and while it does take a little bit of time to learn how to properly drift and control the car, it feels really smooth it feels pretty smooth when you finally learn it. Route 101 and Route 280 are slightly different, but they play exactly the same, so there isn't really any reason to rate them separately. The only real difference that I wanted to mention other than the stage layout is that Route 280 is a bit more difficult than Route 101, but it's not an insane difference. This wouldn't be my go-to racing game, especially when there are literally multiple dedicated Sonic racing games out there, but for a two-time minigame to spice up the gameplay, I think they're pretty good. I'll give both Route 101 and Route 280 a B tier. Cannon's Core is the final regular-ish stage in the game. The really cool part about this stage is that you get to play almost every character in the game during it. Every single character has a section of this stage that they have to play, which is great for variety in this admittedly really long stage. The only character you don't get to play as in Cannon's Core is Shadow, which makes sense for story reasons, but still kinda sucks. This stage also has a gimmick where you can stop time for a short period of time when you hit a specific switch, which is needed to complete a lot of the puzzles in this stage. The stage as a whole just has a lot of cool little details, like Eggman giving everyone orders on what to do, for example. Another cool detail is how the music changes the further you go in the stage. It feels like one song that gets progressively more and more intense as time goes on, which is very fitting for what's happening in the story at that point. Now, onto the bad parts of the stage. There are only two big problems that I have with the stage that are worth mentioning. It gets really confusing at times. It's definitely at its worst in the Rouge and Knuckles sections, but you're never really told where to go, so sometimes you might just be wandering around for 5 minutes if you don't know where to go beforehand. A lot of parts in this stage kind of feel dumb without prior knowledge of what's going to happen, and it's a little annoying, but at most you just lose a life and know what to look out for. The other major issue is that for some reason, Sonic feels terrible to play in this stage. I'm not sure how the lock-on works, but sometimes Sonic just refuses to homing attack the right target, and that has caused me too many unnecessary deaths. I generally think this stage is really cool and has some great ideas, but the issues it has makes it slightly annoying to play through. Because of that, I'm gonna have to give Cannon's Core an A tier. It's been a long journey, but we finally made it. The secret last stage in the game. And why am I hyping this up actually? We already know what it is. I don't have to say it, right? We know where this stage is going. Despite it being a secret stage and not really being something that the devs focused heavily on, Green Hill was really cool. This was before Sega put Green Hill Zone into literally every Sonic game ever, so seeing this stage come back is such a neat detail for people who are really dedicated to the grind. Green Hill is another short and sweet level, but the level design, the music, enemies, and sound effects are such a cool little treat to add more fan service to the stage. This stage is such an awesome homage for hardcore fans who are actually willing to put in the work to get all 180 emblems. Green Hill very clearly deserves an S tier. And that was every single playable stage in Sonic Adventure 2 ranked. I hope you enjoyed my ramblings about this 20-plus-year-old game. I think if I were to pick a stage as my absolute favorite in this game, it would be between White Jungle and Final Rush. Final Rush is a really well-made stage that shows some of the best gameplay that Sonic Adventure 2 has to offer. But White Jungle is just really cool, so I don't know, man. If you disagree with my opinions on something, or you just want to add on to something that I said, leave a comment down below. It's genuinely really fun being able to talk and share opinions with people online in a non-toxic manner. And while you're at it, hit that like and subscribe button too, because if you made it all the way here, I'm clearly doing something right. Recording all these stages and ranking them was a pretty big undertaking and took a lot more time than I thought it would, but I had a lot of fun doing it. It was really fun going back and playing through all these stages in one of my favorite Sonic games of all time, and if I could play them all for the first time again, I would. Except Mad Space. I absolutely hate Mad Space.